to Couch Casual, where today we are going to be going over our Week 12 predictions for the 2024 NFL season. Before we get into the predictions, as usual, looking back on our last week, not so great. We went 9-5, still above 500, which is great. That brings our total up to 113-53 on the year. Now let's actually get into these predictions. So the Thursday night game is the 8-2 Steelers taking on the 2-8 Browns. Steelers actually only opened this game as 3.5-point favorites, and I can honestly see the Browns winning this game. It potentially is going to be rainy. It's an AFC North battle. These games are always ugly, low scoring. I predicted a little high scoring game here. The Browns have not been great. The Steelers have been an arguably a top 5 team in football. So you would think that the Steelers are going to win this game, but I honestly could see the Browns winning. And just to pick an upset, and just because it's an AFC North division game at Cleveland, I'm going Browns 21-20 over the Pittsburgh Steelers. Next game is the Chiefs, coming off of their first loss of the season at 9-1, taking on the 3-7 Panthers, who are coming off not only a bye, but a 2-game win streak. The Chiefs are 11-point favorites in this game. As much momentum, if that's what you want to call it, that the Panthers have going into this game, with their 2-game win streak, with coming off a bye, the Chiefs are just obviously a much better team, and I think that since they lost to a team that they desperately wanted to beat, with the history they have with the Bills, with it being a playoff determiner, like a seed, like that could determine who gets the number 1 seed, which is obviously massive to get. The Chiefs, I think, are going to want to play their best game of the season, and unfortunately for the Panthers, they're not quite built for that. Now, if the Chiefs would have beat the Bills, I actually could see the Panthers winning this game, just because the Chiefs would be undefeated, and at some point they have to lose. Why not to a team that they're probably not going to try against? But now that they lost to the Bills, I think they're going to give it their all to win this game. I think it's just going to be too much for the Panthers. I do think they'll put up a somewhat of a fight because the Chiefs like to play close games, but I'm going with the Chiefs 28-20 over the Panthers. Next is a divisional rivalry, another one. There's actually a lot this week. We have the 8-2 Vikings taking on the 4-6 Bears. The Vikings are 3.5-point favorites in this game. They haven't played their best football recently. Sam Darnold definitely might be coming down to earth just a little bit. I still think he's a much better quarterback than he's been throughout his career, but he definitely isn't playing like the MVP. Like the MVP level that he was playing at to begin the season. But it's still a great team. The Bears have not played very good. They almost beat the Packers. So I do think this will be a close game with that defense. I think they can make Sam Darnold make some mistakes here. But I don't think it will be enough to beat the Vikings. And I got Minnesota winning this one 21-17 over the Bears. Again, as I mentioned, there's a lot of division games here. We have an AFC South matchup, the 2-8 Titans taking on the 7-4 Texans. Texans 8.5-point favorites. I actually think that's pretty low, to be honest. I think this is a pretty easy win for Houston. They're just coming off of a big win versus the Cowboys. You see, when Nico Collins is back, this offense looks a lot better. C.J. Stroud nearly didn't get pressured nearly as much as I thought he would. So maybe the O-line's finally maybe playing some good football. And the Titans just don't have it. They have a good pass defense. That's pretty much it. Will Levis. I'm not upset with what I've seen from Will Levis. He is only in his second year as a top 40 pick. I think we've written off Will Levis a little too early. But I just don't think the Titans have enough in this game. And this is actually my lock of the week. I have the Texans winning 27-17 over the Titans. Now we have the 9-1 Lions taking on the 5-6 Colts. Lions only 7.5-point favorites despite beating the Jags by, I think it was 48 points. Even though the Colts with Anthony Richardson, looked pretty good. Anthony Richardson had himself a pretty solid day versus the Jets. They ended up winning that game 28-27, I believe. So I do think the Colts did make the right decision bringing Richardson back, and I do think they will have a good finish to this season. But unfortunately, they're running into one of the better teams in football, if not the best team, probably the best team in football. I actually don't think it's debatable if they're the best team or not. I think they are. And I just think that the Colts aren't going to be enough. However, I think I've said this a lot. The Lions have to have a close win at some point, especially against these AFC teams. And I think this could be a relatively close win for the Lions, all things considered. And I think they end up winning 30-24 over the Colts. Another division game. We got the 3-8 Patriots taking on the 4-6 Dolphins. Dolphins 7-point favorites in this one. The Dolphins have played good recently. They got a big win versus the Raiders. Pretty easy win against the Raiders. And the week before that, they got a very big win on Monday night versus the Rams. And the Patriots coming off of a loss to the Rams, but it was a close loss. The Rams did not look great in that game despite Nakua and Kupp having monster performances. They only won by 6. Drake May has looked very good in his rookie season. Not maybe quite Bo Nix or Jaden Daniels level, but Drake May definitely has played good. And I do think this can be a lot closer game than maybe the spread says. The Dolphins' defense has been pretty good all year, but so is the Patriots. So I think this will be a low-ish scoring game. But I just think the Dolphins have just too much talent overall to just kind of like what the Rams did to the Patriots. It was a close game, but I think the Rams' talent just gave them the slight edge. I think that's going to be the case in this one. I have the Dolphins winning 23-20 over the Patriots. Now we get the 4-6 Bucks taking on the Tommy DeVito-led 2-8 Giants. He is now the starting quarterback this game. They are 5.5-point underdogs versus the Bucks. And I think this could be a close game. I could see the Giants winning this one. Tommy DeVito just winning it for no reason. Because what the Bucks do best is their offense. They have a very good offense. Mike Evans might even be back, which makes their offense even better. However, the Giants have a pretty solid defense. And I think they can contain the Bucks offense enough to stay in this game. And I think it's going to come down to, can their offense put up enough points against a bad Bucks defense? And I honestly think they can. If the Giants defense can hold the Bucks to under 21 points, I think they actually have a chance to win this game. And actually is what I have here. I have my upset of the week is the Giants beating the Bucks 24-20 in Tommy DeVito's first game of the season. Another divisional game, we have the 3-7 Cowboys taking on the 7-4 Commanders. Normally you'd think that'd be the other way. You'd think it'd be the 7-4 Cowboys taking on the 3-7 Commanders. But here we are in 2024 where the Commanders are the good team and the Cowboys aren't. Now, the Cowboys are riddled with a bunch of injuries, but even when they were healthy, they didn't look great. They didn't look this bad, but they didn't look great. Commanders, 10.5-point favorites, and I think that's pretty accurate. I do think they win this one quite easily. I wasn't upset at how Cooper Rush played against the Texans. And I mentioned before, if that fumble touchdown or whatever that touchdown was that the Texans defense got didn't go against the Cowboys, they could have maybe made that a close game. But I just think the Commanders have played just better, and I think they are just a better team, especially with the Cowboys' injuries. And I think they win this one quite easily, 30-20 over the Cowboys. Next, we have the 6-5 Broncos taking on the 2-8 Raiders. Broncos are 5.5-point favorites. I think that's very low. Broncos coming off of a monster win versus the Falcons where Bo Nix played phenomenal. And the Raiders coming off of a blowout loss to the Dolphins. The Raiders just don't really have much on either side of the ball. They don't have a great defense. It's not bad, but they don't have a great defense. They definitely don't have a great offense. And I think the Broncos are just too much for the Raiders. They played earlier this year where the Broncos won 34-18. And I think it's going to be about similar. I have the Broncos winning 24-14 over the Raiders. Next matchup, we have the 5-5 Niners taking on the 7-3 Packers. Packers 2.5-point favorites, coming off of their narrow win versus the Bears, while the Niners are coming off of their narrow loss to the Seahawks. And this is a very even matchup here. This is a coin toss in my opinion. Both teams playing pretty good. They have their moments of playing really good and their moments of not playing so good. I just think that the Niners, I know they lost to the Seahawks, but I've liked how the Niners have looked since getting Jawan Jennings and getting McCaffrey back. The one thing that has been great for the Packers has been Josh Jacobs, but the Niners have a good enough defense, I think, to contain him enough, and I have the Niners winning 27-24 over the Packers. Speaking of the Seahawks, we have them at 5-5 taking on the 6-4 Cardinals. Seahawks are 1-point underdogs in this game, so pretty much a 50-50. Very evenly matched teams. Cardinals have actually impressed me a lot this season, and they are coming off of the bye, which I think could be a very big factor in this one. And I think when it comes to the Seahawks offense, they'll be able to put up enough points, but I just don't know if their defense can stop the Cardinals as much as the Cardinals can stop the Seahawks offense. And you also throw in that coming off a bye, I'm going Arizona 28-24 over the Seahawks. Now we have our Sunday night game, which is the 8-2 Eagles taking on the 5-5 Rams. The Eagles are 3-point favorites in this one, and the Eagles have looked great. They've looked like a top 5 team. I think I have them as the 5th best team in football in my power rankings. Make sure to go check that video out. Dropped yesterday. And they've just played great on both sides of the ball. Now that they're like pretty much healthy, they're back to being the Eagles again. Saquon's obviously playing great. A.J. Brown, Jalen Hurts. And although the Rams have had their moments of looking pretty good, they've also had their moments of not looking very good. And I think they just don't have enough to compete with the Eagles. And I got Philly winning this one 31-27 over the Rams. Lastly, we have our Monday night game, the Harbaugh game. Both of these coaches are finally playing each other for the first time since, I think, the Super Bowl. The Ravens are 3-point favorites as they are 7-4. Chargers are 7-3. And this is very similar, I think, to the Ravens-Steelers game, where they're playing a pretty decent offense to potentially good offense, but a great defense. And the Ravens are known for their high-scoring offense, but they're very mediocre defense, at least when it comes to their secondary. Their run defense is actually pretty good. And I just think when they match up against an elite defense like the Chargers, their offense is going to be limited because for them to win games, they have to score like 28-plus points with how their defense plays. And it's going to be hard to score 28 points against a defense like the Steelers or against a defense like the Chargers. And that's where I think they run into these problems with these great defenses, is they just don't have the secondary to stop the offense. And just like the Steelers game, I'm going to go with the Chargers beating the Ravens 24-21 in the Harbaugh Bowl. And that will do it for our Week 12 predictions. Let me know what you agree with, what you disagree with. Give me some of your picks. And if you enjoyed the video, make sure you leave a like. And also, make sure you subscribe. It helps out a lot. And I'll see you guys next time. Peace.